Hi, I'm Virginia Stein. I'm the nurse from Synergy Home Care of Ellicott City, and we are doing a roundtable discussion today on Parkinson's. And I've reached out to invite two guests with me today for the conversation. So this is Sheila Baldeo. She is the, I'm gonna read for a sec, the owner of DJMB, which is a senior resource company and a Parkinson's Foundation ambassador. And I also have Derek Russell here. He is the Education and Outreach Manager for the Mid-Atlantic chapter of the Parkinson's Foundation. Welcome, guys. Thank you so much for coming to our Synergy office. And we're very excited to talk about Parkinson's today. It is a condition that a lot of our clients deal with, and we figured let's reach out to the community and see what we can learn from you guys and what we can share with our clients to help make their lives a little easier as they're navigating this disease. So the first thing I wanted to ask you is, how did you get into the Parkinson's area? What brought you to care about these people? And how long have you been working with Parkinson's clients? So who wants to go first?
Go first.
Okay, all right. I got into the area from being a service coordinator in Maryland. I, worked with individuals with disabilities, helping them find resources, acting as an advocate for them when they needed support and funding. And from there, I went over started with the Alzheimer's Association and then into the Parkinson's Foundation. I love working with the Parkinson's group. You meet a lot of different people with a lot of different concerns, I guess is a good way to say it. And just them being able to, talk about what they're needing and what they are looking for and hoping for. It's just rewarding.
Yeah, and I've had the privilege to attend one of your Parkinson's support groups, and you had quite a good showing, and it was just lovely, hearing them all share. How often do you actually do those, though?
We meet once a month at the Office of Aging, fourth Tuesday of every month, from 11 to 12:30.
Is it open just to anybody?
Anyone who wants to come and join.
Great. And we're going to talk about community resources at the end, so we'll bring back to light about your support group too. And how long have you been working with Parkinson's clients?
With Parkinson's clients, probably 7 or 8 years.
Okay. Yeah, nice. Derek, return.
Yeah, I started with the Parkinson's Foundation in 2020 in an administrative role, actually, helping out the entire Northeast region. So the Parkinson's Foundation is broken up amongst chapters. So there's various chapters throughout the entire U.S. So originally I started off working with the entire Northeast, so the Mid-Atlantic chapter that I'm now a part of, as well as New York, New Jersey, and then at the time the New England chapter is what it was called. So I did that for about 2.5, 3 years. And then was offered the opportunity about 1.5 years, 2 years ago now to take on this full-time role as the Education and Outreach Manager, specifically for the Mid-Atlantic chapter, working with various people in the community. So I've been doing that now for about 3 years or so, going out and doing presentations and such. But it's been such a rewarding experience working with the Parkinson's community. 100%, like Sheila said, you come across people with various different questions, various different things. And they always seem to get something out of the presentation or the materials that you're giving them. And it's a really rewarding experience for me personally to be able to work with those groups and kind of work them through the challenges that they may be facing, whether it's from a care partner standpoint or from the person actually diagnosed with Parkinson's.
Yeah, and we're going to bring that back up too, about that you do go out in the community and you have these groups, these educational groups. And what I learned when you two both came here is that you guys know each other.
Yes.
So talk about that. How did that happen? What's that relationship? How do you two know each other already?
Yeah, Sheila is one of our fantastic Parkinson's Foundation ambassadors, is what we call them. So they're volunteers essentially that work with the foundation to go out and spread resources, talk to the communities. And Sheila's one of our best ambassadors here in the Mid-Atlantic. She is always willing to help out with presentations.
Good job.
And certainly with her background and experience, she's comes from a really unique standpoint. But our ambassador force really allows us to hit the 4 or 5 areas that we cover specifically in the Mid-Atlantic, which I'm happy to talk about later, and kind of the areas that we cover. But we can't do it without our ambassadors. They're the ones that are kind of the lifeblood of the organization. And Sheila does an amazing job when she goes out and does those presentations for us.
How many do you think you have at this point?
That's a great question. So we actually just had an ambassador quarterly meeting. That's a new thing that we just added. We have about 40 in the chapter currently. I won't say that all 40 are as actively involved necessarily as Sheila is. She's probably on the higher end of one of our ambassadors as far as going out in the volume of presentations, but there's various ways that they can get involved. Being an ambassador doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go up and stand in front of 40 people and give a presentation. It can be helping out to set up at our moving days, any of our walks, things like that as well.
Gotcha. Yeah, so we've already kind of hit the educational stuff. We've got a walk, like how to be a Parkinson's ambassador, support groups. Can you guys help me remember to talk about all of that at the end?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Because what I know, like our families really want to also hear is, with our backgrounds, you know, what are we seeing out in the community? It's different than like in a hospital setting. In the hospital setting, you know, that's an acute Parkinson's patient that might have fallen or something. You don't always get to hear about the community perspective and the living with Parkinson's disease that we come across. So I just do want to like just explain my background a little bit too in Parkinson's, just so that, you know, we can have a good talk here. But as a geriatric nurse practitioner, I did my master's thesis paper on Parkinson's, and I do have a family member living through Parkinson's. I won't, you know, share too much. I just want to make sure also we just are careful with HIPAA as we talk here, and we don't share too many details about clients, and definitely not their names.
Yes.
But Parkinson's does affect me personally. This is a person that I love in my family, and sorry. So yeah, we'll be talking about that too. Just the personal aspect of it as we creep through. So I am on the medical side of it. I have a lot of experience with it, and then personally. And so if you do have a personal story about Parkinson's too, again, like feel free to share how that's impacted you personally as we go through. So I do just want to start with talking about, you know, when people hear Parkinson's, they think of the tremor. And I know and I would even say seeing it in my family member, the tremor hasn't been the thing that's the main issue. So from your perspectives, what have you seen people with Parkinson's beyond the tremor? And I also want to talk about what those symptoms, how you've seen them impact the family or the person's daily life. So is there anything that you can think about?
For me, it's probably one of the other things outside of the tremors will probably be the gait, the walking, you know, how they walk, the shuffle of the feet, or just the slow movement. A lot of Parkinson's come with a lot of different symptoms, and, you know, people do think of the tremor as one, but it could be other things that just are non-motor symptoms, like something like constipation or something, you know. I'm trying to think of another one, sleeplessness, you know, rough sleep.
Yes.
But for the family member, for the caregiver, it's, you know, the stress, I guess is a good way to put it, but it's not a good way on that person, on the caregiver. Caregivers with any type of, you know, disease that they have to watch out for another family member, they don't think about themselves. And they should, but they also have to worry, they're more worried about the person with the disease, with the Parkinson's. So I think, you know, it's it does impact the community a lot, because there are a lot of changes going through with the person with the disease and the caregiver.
And I think that's why, you know, community resources are really important, because we've already been there. We've helped people navigate. So, you know, you might bring up like, how's your sleep, when maybe nobody's even asked that yet, or they don't even realize that's part of Parkinson's. Right? Or the constipation, like they don't realize that. So, you know, I'm also a nurse educator, and one of the things I teach my nursing students is that, yes, we see the tremor and the freezing on the outside, but what a lot of people don't realize is there's freezing on the inside too, right? The bowels freeze. Constipation is a huge issue. The back, right? And then they end up with back pain and sciatica. The blood vessels, they don't work as well. So next thing you know, they're getting up and they're passing out, right? Because the blood vessels aren't so I call it freezing on the inside and outside very lay terminology there,
Yeah, I like that too.
Yeah.
but that's what's happening. It's not,
Yes.
all we can see is the outside,
Yes.
but there's so many things going on the inside too, and then also in the mind.
Absolutely.
So,
And sometimes that person with that disease don't know how to express it to the caregiver because
Yep.
it's just almost like they just can't explain what's going on.
mhm.
And hoping that that person will be able to understand, or they don't explain it because they don't think they can understand. But
Mhm.
that communication is really important to just between the caregiver, even if it's spouses or, you know, another loved one. It's important to verbalize it.
Right.
Absolutely. And I think one of the great ways to kind of visualize it, to see it visually, is one of the pictures we use in a lot of the presentations I give is a picture of an iceberg. So what's above the surface is the symptoms that you see when looking at someone living with Parkinson's. So the tremors, the hunched over back, whatever it may be. But just like an iceberg, there's so many things below the surface or internally to that person living with Parkinson's that I think that does a really good job of kind of capturing what it is that you may see things on the surface that might be what is widely known about Parkinson's, but there's so much below the surface, as Sheila mentioned and covered, that an individual experiences. And then kind of another thing that we'll say is if you've met one person with Parkinson's, you've met one person with Parkinson's.
Yes.
Because what person A is experiencing could be completely different than what person B
Right.
is experiencing. They may have no tremor whatsoever, but they may have issues with the constipation, with the freezing, with falls, things like
Yes.
that.
Yes.
So that's an important thing to remember too when we're out educating the community, is letting them know that Parkinson's isn't just one symptom or one thing. There's many, both motor and non-motor symptoms that we see for an individual with Parkinson's
Right.
as well.
So, can you just define motor and non-motor for
Absolutely. Motor or non-motor, motor would be movement symptoms essentially. So walking, things like that, balance, and then the non-motor or non-movement symptoms would be things like Sheila mentioned, the constipation's a big one, sleep issues, any mental health things that individuals will experience, depression, anxiety, apathy, things like that.
So now you're bringing up like the mind and the mood, which I want to touch base on too, because a lot of people don't realize that the mind and the mood does present in Parkinson's too. But before I do that, if I could ask you, and I'm gonna put you on the spot, one physical issue that you feel like you've dealt with the most and has been the most impactful on a family, like what would you say it is?
The swallowing, speech and swallowing. The speech more so than the swallowing because they're not able to communicate as loud as they want to, or it just the voice, the vocal
doesn't work.
Right.
So they can't communicate. Derek?
That's a really great one, Sheila. Definitely the swallowing is also an issue of people choking with Parkinson's. But to give another example, and one that Sheila touched on earlier, sleep is a big one. When we do our education programs in the area, we always get evals after to kind of see what people want in the future and moving forward. And I can't tell you the amount of evaluations I get where sleep is a huge one that we see on there. And also diet is a big one that we see. Because diet can affect Parkinson's both in a good way and both in a bad way.
Yeah, seen a lot of them lose weight
Yes.
because they can't eat as fast, so that like the I'm full signal comes in, and they or they just physically can't, or the swallow's off. So I think the biggest one I've seen is the falls, the gait issue. Just at this point, depending on where they are in the Parkinson's, how far they've traveled through that disease, is like they can't be left alone. Some of them don't even realize that their gait is off.
Right.
Like the mind's not telling them their gait is off, and then they have a terrible fall. So I've definitely been seeing that one a lot. So let's move into the mind and mood a little bit, because a lot of people really don't realize that being a geriatric nurse practitioner, I learned that over half of Parkinson's patients can have a dementia, and it's not an Alzheimer's dementia, it is a Parkinson's dementia with memory issues. And then they have problems taking their medications. So I want to weave that medication conversation in here too, because we stress that you have to take your medication on time.
On time, every time.
But if their memory is not the greatest, that's going to give them problems. So what have you guys seen with the mind and the mood issues coming into the picture?
They use reminders from what I've seen. They have the alarm going off on their phone, or they have something to remind them that they have to take that medication on time. Not so much as forgetfulness or anything, but just remembering to perhaps follow that alarm.
Yeah, I've seen the alarm setting, the timing is really great.
So related to medication, one of the newer things that's come out is actually a pump that an individual can take. So it's essentially a patch that goes almost on the side of the skin, and then the medication can actually be given to the individual through that pump, the carbidopa, levodopa, or whatever they may be taking, and then it'll actually mimic the creation of the dopamine in the brain. But the use of technology comes from AI and some other things where it can sense when the brain is dipping in dopamine.
Oh, wow.
That way that person can actually get the medication in live time. It also allows their doctor to see what the pump is doing, and it allows the doctor to adjust the medication from a remote location, so you don't have to wait 6 months to go back into the office.
That sounds like insulin pumps with diabetics.
Very similar.
I love it.
Very similar technology.
I love that. Yeah.
They're actually doing a lot of work with that locally at MedStar Baltimore. That's actually kind of been one of the initial places where they've done it. And I know there's a few pharmaceutical companies that are starting to mass produce them for people to utilize them in their care.
Yep. Whole new area of education for everybody, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and those are things that I think like a Parkinson's family wouldn't necessarily know about,
Right.
and why we should reach out to people like you, so that because you guys know what's new and what's going on in the Parkinson's world just
Right.
because of your positions. So I do want to move into, just because you had mentioned like the caregiver stress, so I do want to acknowledge that the families are also dealing with the diagnosis. I did a newsletter on the family behind the diagnosis, and so just do want to talk about how it affects the caregivers and any kind of caregiving tips that you've given to people over the years that you have found helpful.
For me, a caregiver tip is just take care of yourself. Take care of yourself first. Because once you take care of yourself first, that other person's gonna get the best care. If you, as a caregiver, don't take care of yourself, worrying about them is not gonna do them much good either. They're gonna sense that stress and that frustration. So once you take care of yourself and alleviate some of that, taking care of that person with the disease, it's a lot easier.
So when you tell caregivers to take care of themselves, what do you advise them to do?
Eat properly, sleep properly, get enough sleep, eat properly, take respite, go out, take time for yourself.
Call Synergy Home Care for
Yes.
some extra help here and there, so you can get a break.
Yes, that's, yeah.
And you don't need to feel guilty about asking for a break.
True, right.
Because the person that has a break can actually care better
Yes.
if you have a break.
Yes,
Right?
yeah. Once you've taken care of yourself, you can do a whole lot more. Your energy level is up. Your self-esteem is up, and you can project that a lot better to that person.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't realize, caregivers don't realize that when they're stressed, that stress is spilling off to the person that they're taking care of.
Absolutely.
And then that person is stressed. So both of you are stressed.
Yeah.
One person can at least, relax themselves and take care of themselves a little bit better. You'll be better able to take care of the person.
Yeah, exactly. How about you, Derek?
Yeah, specifically through the foundation, we actually offer something each year called our Care Partner Summit. You might hear me use the term care partner, caregiver, they're interchangeable. But we have something every November that's called our Care Partner Summit. It's an education event that's completely virtual, that is specifically designed only for the caregiver or care partner.
I love that.
And it has different topics where they can talk about, similar to what Sheila is saying, how they can care for themselves, make sure they're looking out for themselves, because just like she was saying, if they're not looking out for themselves, it's going to make it even harder for them to take care of an individual living with Parkinson's or really anything. So that's one example that we do each year to kind of give the care partner a way to not only separate themselves for a day to kind of lock in and look at the things that we offer, but it also gives them tips and things very similar to what we're talking about here. And then a resource that we actually offer is a care partner guide. So that's a really great book for a care partner or caregiver to look at. Gives them additional tips, ways they can work with people with Parkinson's, strategies, because their mental health is just as important as the person living with Parkinson's mental health, exactly like Sheila was saying.
So if I had to ask you, what do you feel is probably the tip that you give the most? What would you say? And
Yeah.
you can't copy hers.
I was gonna say, take care of yourself is definitely number one. But I think at the same time, remembering that you as the care partner, it's nothing that you're doing. Parkinson's disease is a very complex and difficult disease to manage. Like we mentioned earlier, each person is different. So it's not even a situation where you can ask someone you know that may has Parkinson's, what they've experienced, because
Yes.
it could be completely different than what your loved one is experiencing. So I think remembering that it's a very complex disease. There's many layers to it. Going back to that iceberg, it's a very complex thing to kind of look at. So just remembering that when you're going through the care process of caring for somebody, because it's not anything you're doing. It just may be that this person is trying to cope or figure out how to manage and navigate their journey with Parkinson's, and especially at the early stages where you're trying to get medications correct, you're trying to figure out who's your doctor, who you can rely on, the resources that are available, knowing that it might be a little bit of a challenge at the beginning, but you know, having that ability to adapt as things move forward and things are ever changing.
And when you're getting that support to realize that what works for one Parkinson's patient might not work for your loved one.
Right.
Like, don't get upset.
Exactly.
Like you just said, it's just
Exactly.
it's a disease. Everybody presents a little bit differently.
For sure.
So in my experience, there's been two things that I really see a lot. Is one, because Parkinson's patients fall a lot, these caregivers end up hurting themselves.
Right.
They're lifting these loved ones off the floor, they're ripping their shoulders, they're hurting their backs, and next thing you know, they're physically hurt
Definitely.
too.
Yes.
And I think it's really important to learn what proper lifting is,
Yeah.
to be educated on how much weight you should be lifting and how much weight you shouldn't be lifting, proper technique, because you're gonna hurt yourself.
Yes.
And the other thing that I recommend to caregivers is, you mentioned the respite. I do think you need a break. Like, that respite care means rest.
Yes.
And you have somebody else sit with the loved one. But the support groups, because it feels very lonely when you're going through this with your family member, and just to know that there's other people going through it too.
Yes.
Somehow that just brings comfort into the picture, even though nothing has necessarily changed in your life.
Right.
True.
And maybe to hear those stories. Well,
Yes.
this worked for me, or this, what did you do for this? And to have that bond with somebody else that's living through it.
Or if someone else is living with it, with Parkinson's, and you mention something that they may not be going through, just the support that they can give you, just because they kind of understand.
So I think that's a great segue to finishing this up by talking about the community resources out there. Since we're talking about support groups, go ahead, because I found what was interesting in your support group is you had a one of the people that came had this really cool watch. It was also new technology.
Yes.
And that wouldn't have been shared. I didn't know about it.
Yes, they shared it, and he actually let some of the members in the support group take it home and try it out, and if they liked it, they could get one for themselves. But yes, I like that.
What was it again? It put like a vibration. It put a vibration into his body. Have you heard of this?
There's certain technologies like that. I've seen watches. There's gloves that I've seen, like boots for people that have that gait, that freezing gait. But yeah, there's a variety of things like that
and it
out
worked
there.
for him. It was working for him.
Yeah, I've seen good success with some people. Doesn't work for everybody, just like everything with Parkinson's. But I think that's what you're referring to.
What I think with the watch, and at that point, it was the rhythm. So the watch was kind of releasing a rhythm into the mind of the person, or just sensing, and that would help keep them moving, their mobility moving.
Yeah.
So that was really good. But just the ideas, even from simple ideas like the watch to a neurologist, and they bounce off who's good, who's not, who they like.
Which we won't say here, but yeah.
But all of that comes up in the support group, and they love it. They love sharing those ideas with each other.
I could feel the bond when I was there between all of them, and I mean they couldn't wait to talk to each other.
Yes,
they didn't really care like what was on the agenda. They just wanted to talk to each other.
And that's what my support group runs. I don't really have an agenda, and I send out an invite every time, and I say open discussion. So whatever they want to talk about, and it always runs over.
Yeah,
it seems to run over, which I love.
That is great. So besides your support group, what other community resources do you offer personally? And then tell them like how they can find you. We'll of course share your information when we share the link, but tell them how they can find you.
So my job that I do outside of the support group is to help seniors, help families find the senior communities. Along with that, when you're looking for a senior community, a lot of other things come into place. You need to downsize, you need a lawyer, you may need some kind of other financial advice. I can provide those resources as well, just in the connections that I have networking. But mainly it's to find the senior communities for whatever you're looking for. You know, I listen to you, talk to you, and find out your needs and try to match you with a good community.
So it takes the stress off of the family who maybe doesn't know all the resources in the area to just contact you.
Yes.
And people always want to know, how much do you cost, Sheila?
I am free.
Yay, she's free.
My services are free. I am connected with the senior communities and have a contract with them, which is how I am paid. But when you come to me for different types of resources, different types of just advice on, you know, what to do next, how to move forward, I'm there to listen.
Yep, and I do want to say thank you for helping one of our Synergy families, because I did reach out to you because I've known you already, and you did help a family who has a client, loved one with Parkinson's, find a place. So thank you so much. You know we're gonna be using you again.
Please.
But that's why we're here, is to make these relationships so we can help our families. And Derek, how can they find you? And you've mentioned so many things, I don't even...
Yeah. The number one thing I would always say is go to our website, parkinson.org. All of our resources on the website are completely free. There's various things you can find, podcasts, videos, books, digital books. You can order things directly to you. We'll mail them right to you.
At no charge.
At no charge, yes, very important. Certainly there's some of the ones I'd highlight is definitely our hospital safety guide. That's a very, very important thing. Hospitalization is oftentimes a big issue for people living with Parkinson's, as far as issues they may face with getting medication on time. This guide is kind of the one-stop shop where it allows you to find out how to advocate for yourself, to write down your medications that you need. There's actually a way your doctor can sign a note. That way you have pre-authorization to take these things. So that's a really great resource. And the final thing I would recommend is certainly our helpline. We have a 1-800 number. Everyone that answers that is a medical professional that'll work with you and answer pretty much any question you may have, whether it's a simple referral you're looking for in the community, or if you have you know, a borderline emergency and you need assistance, they can get you into the right place, whether it's crisis management, something like that. So definitely our website, parkinson.org, and the 1-800 number, 1-800-4PD-INFO. But if you go to our website, that number is plastered everywhere.
I was going to ask you if you knew the number, but then I didn't want to put you on the spot. So
I know the acronym number version. I don't know the number
okay,
off
that's
the top
okay.
of my
We'll
head.
also put it like on the link too.
But you go to our website, it's plastered everywhere. You can find it.
Okay, so final thoughts. One final thought for our families and those living with Parkinson's, what would you say to them? I'll put you on the spot again.
You go first.
Sure. I would definitely say utilize the resources that are around you. There's a lot of information out there. It can be overwhelming. So if you're overwhelmed, it's
That's
okay.
normal.
It's
Yeah.
normal. Obviously, I'm a little bit biased, but I highly recommend our website because I think a lot of it is very digestible. It's very kind of entry-level information if that's what you're looking for. And if you want to dive deeper, there's referrals, there's other sites that we can send you to. Certainly, we have that information.
You're just the beginning of the
as
connection.
Well. Correct. I mean, we're a full-stop shop. If you want beginning to the most complex stuff, we have something called our PD Learning Lab, which are like courses you can take online to find out about things. So there's a variety of education materials on our website, but highly recommend that you work through those things, understand that it's a journey. It's not going to be something that is discovered overnight. Something I always say is it's going to take a while to build your Parkinson's healthcare team. And that's not just a neurologist, that's home healthcare agencies like you guys, that's nurses, pharmacists, dietitians, basically anybody you can think of in the medical profession. So, go in knowing that you're going to have to be patient. It's going to be a journey, but our goal with the foundation is to have people live the best life they can, despite having Parkinson's.
Right. Because Parkinson's is not curable. As of today, it's not curable.
It is not curable.
So quality of life is the focus.
For sure, but you're also not going to die from Parkinson's.
No.
What we say is you'll die with Parkinson's.
Correct.
And I know that's a morbid way to look at it in some cases, but it's important to remind people that sometimes because, it's not a death sentence like some other diseases may potentially be.
True.
And that's important to remember too. You can live a very
who
long
live
for life.
30 plus years.
Absolutely.
So, and what would you say to the families?
Just to kind of take off from that and from someone with my support group this morning, when someone, you know, your loved one or some close friend of yours is telling you they see this different, listen to them. Because a lot of people don't want to recognize it on themselves or have to admit it, but if someone else sees that's going on with you, kind of take note. Ask your doctor if, you know, you're not talking to that person who's noticing that change in you. And kind of ask them questions afterwards to see what could be happening.
I love that. Yeah.
Excellent point.
Well, guys, I want to thank you for joining us. These are so much fun, and I appreciate you guys sharing all of this with our families and coming to the Synergy office today in Ellicott City.
Thanks for having
And
us.
Thank you so much.
Yes, yes. So